Hello and welcome to another Gameplay Monday video and the last of Season 8, as the cutoff will be tonight at midnight, so well done to everyone who managed to reach their goals for this season, as we look towards yet another preseason starting up next week. Now for this Gameplay Monday, I thought instead of going with something a bit more hard meta, let's look at something that's quite popular or useful in a large range of ranked brackets, and that would be Warwick vs Hecarim, and basically a battle for who can rotate the fastest. But in this game, it's also a bit of an exchange. It's very close most of the way and incorporates a lot of different mid and late game decision making ideas, along with how the effect of assisting lanes versus trading objectives versus pushing out waves to get yourself a CS lead can all impact the total outcome of the game. And if you're looking for the best builds for these champions, we can look no further than our sponsor for today's video, U.GG, and in case you missed it last time, here's a quick word from Rost.
Do you get fed and seem to not be able to carry? Does your wolf lack frenzy and feel more like a paper airplane? And does his bite seem to fail at executing as badly as a blunted guillotine? Well, perhaps you should stop building AP on Kindred and head to U.GG to investigate the best itemization choices, from a full breakdown of purchase order based win rates to the top 3 build paths to maximize your snowball, and turn your bodiless pooch into a full-on raging, howling dog head, all customizable by role, region, MMR, and more. Begin your climb from Iron 4 with the best builds only on U.GG. Wolf and Lamb sold separately.
And with a big thank you to our giant red friend and his sponsorship skills, we're gonna head straight into this game where Hecarim has decided to start Raptors before going into red, whereas Warwick got a leash on his red on the other side of the map. You'll notice on their mini maps that Warwick's team has warded the opposite side scuttle, as has Hecarim's team. So if there are any invades or scuttle approaches before those expire, each team will have a heads up to the enemy jungler's location. Now in this situation, Warwick knows that Hecarim has started on the top side of the map because bot lane showed very early, they didn't delay, they didn't fake leash, and so his idea is to take red and then go straight to take Hecarim's blue. He wards over the other side just in case Hecarim's gonna come from the wolves. However, he doesn't consider that, hey, maybe at this point in the season everyone is warding the river for that scuttle crab collapse, and as you can expect at this stage, the Kaiser and Morgana begin to roam up, and he does the smart thing of just backing out. There's no point greeting here, respect it, back off. You do have the possibility that Hecarim steals your blue, but sometimes you just don't get the dog treat you wanted. And while Warwick is able to escape, instead of just moving on back into his jungle and getting his blue buff, he decides to start to engage and chunk the Talon. That causes him to lose a lot of HP unnecessarily, and it doesn't influence the mid lane whatsoever. So you might be thinking, well, that's a Hecarim's chance to just invade and kill him. Well, yes and no. Hecarim does take the Scuttle Crab and could easily invade the blue. You could argue he perhaps should have, but at the same time, you have to recognize that Urgot has insane lane pressure on the Poppy on the top side. He's still a strong champion. Malzahar would rotate quicker than the Talon despite his parkour jumping, and so it's not really worth the risk if Warwick does show up in time with a bit more HP, because, as we all know, Warwick heals very quickly and can very easily win a low HP fight with his W passive. So Hecarim goes for the safer option, just retreats, takes his Krugs. He can now go back, get those early boots to get his Predator ready, and then head to the bot side where he knows all his camps are up as well as the enemy scuttle, thanks to his bot lane's ward and collapse on the Warwick at level 2. Now while this has happened, Malzahar has died 1v1 versus the Talon, and Warwick, after taking his camps, moves on down through the top side, waits for Malzahar to TP, and they can now collapse on the Talon, who is being a bit cheeky overstaying there given he knows who he's against. He knows the enemy mid laner has TP as well. Warwick flashes to get a range of the Talon so he can use his Q to follow him over the wall, which he does, very nicely done, and secures that kill. So less than optimal early game clear, but they grab a kill. Malzahar gets something back after he died in the 1v1, and the game returns to a slightly neutral state. While this has happened, Hecarim knows he has the control given where Warwick is. He takes a scuttle before falling back to take his blue, Gromp, and wolves. While this has happened, Warwick has done his Raptors and then Krugs. And now the two jungles will meet, and only because of a little bit of arrogant behavior by the Warwick. Yes, the enemy bot is pushing up against the Lucian and the Nautilus, but they have been back at this stage already. Well, they didn't technically go back, they died, but nonetheless, they have been able to spend their gold on a control ward, and it's quite likely they actually put one up. As you can see from Hecarim's minimap, they also have one in the tri-bush. So as Warwick comes around, it's very clear that he's right there. Hecarim is able to finish his wolves and can then rush on down to counter gank. If he was watching the map or his team was pinging, he would have seen that Warwick used the flash to kill the Talon, and so there's no way really out of the situation. Warwick's mistake is turning to Q and try and heal and do reverse damage to the Hecarim rather than simply running to safety under the tower, but at the same time, if he doesn't do that, Hecarim is going to flank his bot lane. So all he's really doing is buying time, because guess what? Lucian and Nautilus are able to take out the Kaiser. So even though Warwick's died, he gave them time to finish off that kill of their own. However, Hecarim is still in the area. He shows extreme patience. He retreats back into his jungle, uses the blasting cone to hop over the wall, is able to get a kill on the Lucian, which is nice because it's one of those low shutdowns, but it's still a nice chunk of gold. However, the power of the ocean is way too strong and the Nautilus picks up a double kill. But I think in the grand scheme of things as a jungler, he'll take that trade for the time being. Now, Warwick in this meantime has shown terribly inefficient pathing. He just took his Raptors and Krugs and he just goes and sort of, I think he's typing or I don't know what he's doing, but he's waiting a long time. His red's coming up, both those camps are down. There's no point in being on that bottom side of the map, but he really wanted that scuttle crab and so has actually forgone going to the top side again just so he can secure that scuttle crab and then move on to his red. In the meantime, Hecarim showing a bit more efficient pathing by going to the Krugs. Of course, he started on the top side and so it makes sense for him to be there. And instead goes for a gank on the top lane. Urgot's been pushing most of the game and so it should be free with the chain CC of both Puppey and Hecarim, and he grabs himself a nice kill. Now, I just critiqued the Warwick's pathing because I said, well, he's waffling, he wasted a lot of time. However, Warwick was thinking a few steps ahead. He knew the Hecarim would be going to the top side to get his red, and so Warwick staying on the bottom side to get that scuttle crab, which protects his bottom lane against talent roams as well. Getting his red, able to move to the top side and grab his wolves, and now can, with the Malzahar, move to invade the red buff of the Hecarim as it spawns. Notably, they just saw Hecarim top lane as well, so they know he's a little shorter on mana and HP, especially if he goes to the Krugs afterwards, which is what happens. Hecarim runs into a trap, he gets ulted and he dies. Unfortunately, Malzahar used his ult, which means as Talon shows up, there's nothing they can do. Warwick dies, Talon gets red buff, and he hops over the wall. I really hate that ability, and both junglers are dead. And so far, we've seen a lot more proactivity from Hecarim's point of view in terms of helping the side lanes. Warwick has saved the Malzahar from being too far behind with his roam on the mid lane. He messed up his own gank on the bottom side, but his bottom lane is winning hard overall, and his Urgot is pushing the Puppey. So he made the right call there to invade and try to keep the Hecarim off the map a little longer, but Hecarim has reached level 6. And so as he respawns, he gallops down to the bottom lane, picks up a double kill, even if his bot lane tower does fall already, and that's where Season 9 shall be quite a bit different, and those towers are much harder to take. You're one of them falling down within the first few minutes of the game if your lane auto loses, which I think is a great thing from a jungler perspective, because as laners will have longer laning time, you also have more time to save them, gank more, and apply pressure in different ways as well. So as Hecarim uses his ult and everything in the bottom lane to at least pick up some kills, Warwick can then take his blue buff on the top side and gank the top lane. That picks up a nice kill for the Puppey, while Hecarim sequences his camps to take them all down despite the fact that his blue buff is spawning, and he goes to the top lane to hold that wave against the tower and absorb that experience. You're gonna notice a lot of this now in the mid game where Hecarim is picking up waves that are pushing, he's not letting these waves stack up against his team, and he's absorbing that golden experience, and that's gonna prove very useful in the coming fights. Now, if you see the jungler holding the top lane, and you know the enemy top laner has also come back, well, that's a free dragon. That's exactly what Warwick does with his Lucian. They took the tower, they shoved him out, they have the lead, there's nothing they can do about it. It's an absolutely free mountain drake, which is great for the fact that they're trying to push towers as fast as possible. They don't want to let that Kai'Sa come online in any capacity. So overall, I'd say it's quite an equal game for both junglers. Hecarim's playing around his losing lane, trying to help as much as possible. Both junglers have had kills on the top side. Warwick has done what he needs to do when he has winning lanes, and that's invade the enemy jungler and try and take him off the map. Hecarim's been way more efficient with holding lanes and farming his camps in sequence, and so we will fast forward just a little bit to where Warwick is taking advantage of the fact that his lanes have swapped already, and so he's going to go ahead and take that Rift Herald. However, while he's taking that Rift Herald, there's a fight going on the top lane. Urgot's TP's in, Hecarim arrives just in time to take out the Lucian, but the Morgana is very, very low. Warwick still secured the Rift Herald. Now Warwick and Malzahar can double team onto the Talon to kill him, and the Morgana forgets that there's a Warwick with a W passive and she sits in the bush and dies. Hecarim foolishly wastes his ult to try and save the Puppey. I would have just held onto it. There's nothing you can really do in that situation. Your whole team just kind of fell apart by being in the wrong place at the wrong time and not paying attention to pretty much anything whatsoever. But as I've mentioned in quite a lot of videos recently, timing your jungle pathing or your team's pathing with back timings and offset back timings is very important. Lucian died before all that happened, so while Warwick's team stayed out to take the tower and secure the Rift Herald and perhaps secure the scuttle, Lucian in the meantime had respawned and now gone to the mid lane. So his on the field time is offset with the rest of his teams. Puppey sees this, Hecarim sees this, and so they both, well, Puppey TPing, Hecarim just galloping, flank to the side and are able to take out the Lucian in the mid lane, which stops that bleeding and of course takes off their most fed member from the map yet again. They are also able to kill the Malzahar, and now that entire objective rotational focus by the Warwick's team, the blue team, is completely thwarted, and they have to play much more safely, and also again wait for the whole team to be on the map at the same time. With that in mind, Warwick and Urgot have rotated to try and take out the split pushing Talon, but it's Talon Talon, so there's no point in trying to chase him. And because Warwick then falls back into his jungle, Hecarim, who's also done the same thing, is now in prime position to punish the over-pushing Urgot. There's no reason for him to be pushing that far up into the lane versus a Hecarim and a Talon. And remember, as a jungler, I said to you guys, if you see someone doing that, you can predict the enemy junglers are highly likely to collapse and try and 2v1 your split pusher. So being in that side lane bush ready to counter gank can also be quite useful, but at the same time, it's not really the best play on the Urgot side. But you do have to play around your laners. Sometimes doing your Krogs or Raptors to save him and maybe pick up a double is better than the gold you get from the camps. I'm not saying that's necessarily what he should have done, but it's something just to keep in mind when you do have laners that don't really make the right play. And in order to bring a stop to the slightly chaotic action that's starting to take place, Hecarim decides he's just going to run into the enemy team for no particular reason. Then he has to back out. Warwick's going to ult and miss because why not? But his Q is able to kill Hecarim. He then flashes an Ease, but he's in the middle of the whole enemy team and he also dies. So both junglers went a bit crazy and they shouldn't have done that. The Talon can dive the Lucian. You have to be able to peel. If Warwick, you're going to be diving the backline, killing the Hecarim, that's great, but what does the rest of your team need from you? You have to understand your role in these skirmishes and fights. In Hecarim's case, probably just, face planting into them isn't also a good idea either. And so as we talked about mid-game decision making in the last video, we're going to focus a little bit about how you play in a chaotic game which is neutral and make the best of the situations that you can as a jungler. So another fight breaks out in the mid lane. This time the Warwick is actually trying to focus on peeling the Talon off of the Lucian, but it is Talon who plays it very well and is still able to kill him. Hecarim then decides to run in, gets ulted by the Malzahar and dies, but again, remember what I told you, suction effect. They all focused on the Hecarim so much with using the Malzahar ultimate on him, and the fact that Talon can loop around the back and Lucian's off the map, it means Hecarim's team is able to actually clean up the fight. It's a sad situation for you, but it's great for the team because they can now push down the mid lane, take that tower, Warwick can't defend by himself, and of course with Lucian spawning, they're able to save just in time that other tower. And because Hecarim's team can easily take the dragon without him, what he does is he moves straight to the top lane after respawning to take those CS and stop the wave crashing into his tower. I'm going to skip forward a little bit again because Warwick's team is able to eke out the last two inner towers in the mid and the bottom side. Both junglers died from doing something silly again. Hecarim respawns, punishes a split pushing Malzahar because that's what he can do, much like Kane, anything that can move around the map very quickly, tank the damage as well as dish out their own. And after a few minutes of farming, we head to the crux of the game, the late game decision making, the opportunistic playmaking that needs to happen to decide the winner. Nautilus gets caught out in his low and Hecarim was farming the bottom side of his jungle. He uses this to activate his predator and he basically assassinates the Malzahar because there's nothing he can really do about it. He's tanky, he does damage, he's really fast, and he's a giant horse with a horn. He's also able to clean up the kill on the Nautilus, which means now they can collapse together as a team onto the Warwick and take him off the map as well. And this only happened because Warwick pushed up too forward to try and deter any engage on the Nautilus. He got hit by Morgana binding, he got ulted, and so he was trapped in that chokehold when he should have just been retreating with his team, not trying to zone or anything like that. It wasn't really necessary. Now Hecarim does go a bit over aggressive to try and kill the Lucian. He should have just stayed with his team, secured the free Baron and gone back to base, but he's lucky that basically everyone else is dead and his team secures it. Now Warwick's team does a great job of withstanding the Baron push. There's a weird skirmish that goes on where no team really gets anything, and I want to highlight something that teams should be aware of when you're ahead and you think you can just do whatever you want. The Talon's on the top side 1v1ing versus a Lucian while Hecarim's pushing out the mid lane. Again, great, he's pushing out the experience and the CS to try and get that lane pressure so that his team can actually siege properly, but that means they're on a 1-1-3 split push with 3 in the bottom lane. Warwick's team doesn't really have anywhere else to be or do. Their ADC is pushing the top side, he's able to solo kill the Talon. That means they can immediately send 4 people to the bottom lane knowing that Hecarim's in the mid. That gives them a numbers advantage in a game they are currently losing. And this is all because there was bad minion wave management in the mid lane anyway. Had they slid up a slow push of some capacity in the lanes and not have been in the situation where Hecarim has to defend and clear it, they wouldn't have a numbers disadvantage in the bottom lane. And so Warwick's team has played it very well, so has he. Hecarim comes late to the party, gets ulted by Malzahar again, and the blue team's able to withstand a fight. So now basically the entire advantage that they got from Hecarim's play on the mid lane to secure them the Baron is pretty much nullified. The Baron's about to spawn again, they've just danced around with equal exchanges and fights. Who's gonna win this game and how? It's all about which jungler rotates fastest to the skirmish breaking out in the side lane. Talon's able to just escape, and Hecarim has been doing a great job of taking out Malzahar in split pushes, taking out anyone who overcommits, and in this case, taking out the Lucian from the fight. He's able to actually dive the backline very easily with his kit to take out a priority target, whereas a Warwick, because he hasn't been farming as efficiently, he hasn't been defending waves by himself, he's down 2 experience levels against the Hecarim, and once Lucian is taken off the map, it's very easy to clean up and for them to secure the Baron. Warwick tries to stick around for the steal, but honestly, there's really no point, and you just further seal the deal by dying in the situation. All the little mini wave pushes Hecarim had, all this sequencing of camps he did correctly, has given him this advantage in the lead, as well as the fact that he's picked off kills on the side lane. Now as Warwick, you can't really do anything about Jamal Zahar if he's gonna split push the whole time and be out of position, but you have to ask what you should be doing as a team or what you can do as a jungler in those situations. And from here, Hecarim's team's able to actually close out the game. Their gold lead is substantial enough along with the Baron buff to be able to win any fight, even if the enemy team plays it well. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, share, and comment if you did enjoy. Consider becoming a member on YouTube for access to perks, and we will probably have another Gameplay Monday next week before the start of preseason when all the craziness should begin. Subscribe for more jungle videos coming soon, and as always, I will see you all in the next tutorial.